And now, in studio, bringing his Midwest values from the Show Me State to the land of San Diego. He's a triple threat, licensed as an attorney, mortgage broker, and a top producing realtor who's crushing the competition. Here to deliver you what's happening in the trenches of the market. Your host, Michael Gaddis.
Welcome back to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170 The Answer. I am your host, Michael Gaddis of FrontierLoanGroup.com, and I am here with Monica Caraballo, also of FrontierLoanGroup.com. And we are live on Facebook. This is our first show that we're doing on Facebook, so I want to say hello to everybody watching on Facebook. And I have just been told that there's an adapter that we're going to have to get so you can hear what we hear, because you guys can't hear all the intro music and all the stuff that's going on over here. But by the next show, hopefully I'll have it so you guys can actually hear everything that's going on, not just see what's going on in the room. So anyway, I want to start by talking about why it's important to keep an open mind about reverse mortgages. And I think the thing that I want to say is that obviously there's a lot of resistance to reverse mortgages because conceptually it's different than what most people have been taught or raised, to think how they think about loans.
Sure.
Because the whole concept of going in reverse, the whole concept of hey, wait a minute, my principal balance might be affected. But here's an important thing: when you're retiring, you usually only have a finite amount of resources available to you. And when you work hard your entire life, and I can tell you, I don't get up early in the morning and I don't work 10, 12-hour days, 6 days a week. I don't do that to struggle in retirement.
Oh, no.
My whole goal is to try to have a good quality of life in my golden years. And I think that when I go around and I talk to seniors, it's amazing to me how many seniors are struggling. And I know I brought on some charities in the past, and I brought in some senior centers and community centers, and they have talked about the need for donating for seniors. But it's true. A lot of our seniors are on such fixed incomes that they don't have enough money to go out to eat. They don't have enough money to go to the movies. They don't have any of that. And so it's but yet they live in either a paid-off house or an almost paid-off house. And to me, it's very troubling. And for any of you naysayers out there, you should really come to my office and hang out with me for a week or 2 weeks. Follow me around, meet the people that I meet, talk to them about their situations, and you find a better resolution for them.
Sure.
Something that can literally change their lives. And it's kind of funny because a lot of them will take advice from people, and the people they take advice from are usually people that have a lot of assets, because everyone always looks up to people who are affluent and, oh, well, he really knows about money, I should ask him. The problem is that person's not going to look at your life the same way that you.
Exactly.
They're not walking in your shoes. They're like, oh, well, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. And I think the key is keep an open mind and learn about reverse mortgages yourself. You need to learn about how they work, how they operate. You need to learn the pros. You need to learn the considerations. Part of the reason that we pride ourselves in helping people is that we teach our clients how to weigh the benefits and the considerations ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly not for everyone. Reverse mortgages aren't for everyone, but they do give and afford people certain freedoms. I mean, like you said, you hit it on the nose. We walk into a lot of homes, even the deferred maintenance that we see. They have a home paid off, but they can't afford to repair their heater or their air conditioning.
No.
It's sad.
No, it is. It's terribly sad. And I think a lot of people trip over themselves because, they're worried. They're like, well, what? I heard that, that I'm going to lose title to my home, which is not true. And, a lot of what they base their beliefs on are myths and misconceptions. But, obviously there's some fundamental differences. But I will tell you something. A lot of people right now are using reverse mortgages, are considering reverse mortgages a viable retirement planning option, along with other retirement plans. And I think that it's really important to do so because here's the deal. I had a person who said, well, I'm going to lose some equity because obviously in a reverse mortgage, there's a deferred principal. Basically, the principal was not really deferred, but the interest gets paid, it gets put onto the principal balance every month. And I said, yeah, that's true. And I said, but here's this. Let's say you have an investment account. What happens to your investment account if you're relying on that every single month? It goes down. So you have to pick your poison. Do you want that to go down? Now here's the difference though. With the reverse mortgage, there's always a chance that some of what you're deferring or you're putting onto your principal balance is going to be offset by the appreciation in your house. Now, I'm not telling you to guarantee, to put that in the bank, and I'm not telling you to use that as a critical, opinion when you're trying to pick, whether or not, you should get a reverse mortgage. But I'm telling you, it is possible. Just like I mentioned in the last segment, Alan Nevin, the economist, has projected that San Diego real estate is going to continue to go up 4 to 5%. So, I mean, because of the special location and being in California. People in California are very lucky because in California, our houses went up astronomically. I mean, I know people who bought house. I met a senior the other day. She bought her house for $30,000. Wow. It's worth $475,000 today. And she's like, I can't believe that this same house that I bought for $30,000 is worth, this much money. It's because we live in a special location. And so our houses have gone up more than other houses in other areas. And so I think one of the keys is instead of being 70 years old and not being able to afford to go see a movie or go out to eat, or sometimes people they have such little income coming in, or they're on such a tight budget that even the price of gas going up affects their ability to go to church or do whatever they want to do. It really, they're that tight. And so for someone to sit back and go, oh well, those aren't for, they shouldn't do that. Really, what's your proposition?
Right. Well, among the many things that I love about Frontier Loan Group, the thing I love most is the fact that we take the time to educate through our workshops. Those are powerful. And I think what we give these seniors who are on the fence and don't know, and what I admire about the ones that show up to the workshops, is they want to take the time to learn. They're open-minded and they want to learn all about this before they make a decision. And you put on a phenomenal workshop.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, you're welcome. And I happen to be your co-workshop-y.
Yes.
Count on the back to myself.
Yes, she is.
But we have phenomenal workshops.
No, we do.
We're not there to sell anything. We're there to educate. And you take it a step further. I mean, you talk about pricing. You go from A to Z, and it's something I'm really proud of to be part of.
Well, I do that not just in my workshops, but I do that in every one of my presentations.
Yeah.
There was a time once where I had this lady, and she really wanted a reverse mortgage, but her son didn't want her to get a reverse mortgage. And she said, well, it's really important that that I have him in the decision-making process, so can you meet at our house? And I said, sure, I can meet at the house. So I go inside, I go in to meet him one evening, and sure enough, I could just feel the tension in the air, and I knew that the guy was going to give me grief. I knew it, so I started, going through my presentation, and I stopped. And I looked at him and I said, you don't like reverse mortgages, do you? And he looked at me and says, nope, and my mother is not getting one.
Uh-oh.
And I said, well, I appreciate that, but I said, let me ask you a question. I said, how well do you know your mother? And he goes, well, of course I know her. She's my mom. And I'm like, okay, how well do you know her financial situation? And he says, well, I'd like to think I know her financial situation. And I said, well, you'd like to think, but I do. I said, I spent the last 3 days going over your mother's income. I've gone over how much asset she has. I've gone over all her expenses and her debt. So I know exactly what the numbers are. And maybe I should enlighten you a little bit. I said, do you know your mom doesn't make enough money every single month in her Social Security and pensions to pay to live here? And I said, just to be honest with you, even the quality of life she's living is not really high. I said, but she can't even afford that. Did you know that she's subsidizing from her savings at a rate of $600 a month? She's literally taking money out of her savings, which is a finite amount of money. She's taking out at a rate of $600 a month. And here's the kicker. Did you know she only has $2,400 left in her account?
Wow.
So what does that mean? She has 4 months left. 4 months. So I said, here's how I see it. You got one of 3 choices. I said, number one, I said you can give her, when she runs out of money, you can give her $600 a month to help subsidize her cost of living here. And it's not even a high quality, but you can do that. You can give her an extra $600 a month. I said, number two, you can help her sell her house, and then you can take her equity and she can move in with you. Because she's not going to have enough money to rent on a long-term basis. She's going to nip into that amount of whatever she gets out of this house. She's going to take away from it every single month. So she's going to need a long-term plan. So she can sit here, she can live with you. Or number 3, you can sit here with an open mind and listen about what reverse mortgages are really all about, and you can, at that point in time, help her decide whether a reverse mortgage is right for her.
Let me guess what he did.
Well, I asked him, which choice do you want?
2.
You know what he told me?
2.
No, he said, tell me more about those reverse mortgages. And I said, that's what I thought. And I went through the whole presentation like you were talking about, from A to Z, and I told him everything. I told him the pros, I told him the cons, I told him everything. I pulled the curtain away from the reverse mortgage, and I just laid it all on the table about what it is, what it isn't, what it can do, what it can't do, and what the potential problems are. And at the end of it, you know what he told me when I was leaving? He came up to me and said, you know, Michael, because I'm going to be honest with you, it's a lot different than what I thought it was.
Oh, yeah.
He goes, I think it is a good product for my mom. I didn't realize that it was all that, it was what it really is. And I said, look, I really apologize for having to lay it on the line from the beginning. I said, but if I wouldn't have done that, I said, you would have sat here for the whole time and you wouldn't have heard a word I said. Every word would have gone in and out, and you would have, because you wanted to voice your displeasure, I had to call you out. And I said, so that you can do it. Now, I'm leaving you today so that you and your mother can now sit in her house, and you can talk about the pros and cons of a reverse mortgage, and you can let me know whether it's the right decision for her. But now you're basing it not on impulse, you're not basing it on myths, you're not basing it on misconceptions, you're basing it on fact. And that was what I wanted you to do. Whether you guys get a reverse mortgage or not, either way is okay with me, as long as you do it with fact, not on fiction. So, that's what I do. I believe in it. I think it's the right thing to do. And, at least to evaluate, to see. Because I'm telling you, as you mentioned earlier, it's not the right choice for everyone. But for those that can get it, and it is the right choice for it, it can literally change their life. I have seen people transform. I have seen people's personality go from severe depression to walking on air. They are completely different people. So I believe in it. I'm very passionate about it. And, and I believe in making sure that my clients make educated decisions.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to thank everyone for listening today. I want to thank everyone that's listening on the air. And I want to thank everyone on Facebook Live that took the time to listen to the radio show today. And we will be back next week at Monday at 7 p.m. to talk about something related to real estate or loans. And we'll be back on Facebook Live next week as well. So I want to thank everyone, and we'll see you again next week. You're listening to The Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170, The Answer.